Hi, my name is Alice, and today we are going to go down another Delphi rabbit hole. Good morning, everyone. My name is actually not Alice, it's Michelle, and I hope you're doing well. It's Thursday morning, the 26th of October, and it's almost a year since Richard Allen was arrested. He was arrested on the 28th of October 2022. And what a year it's been. Actually, it's not really, has it? Because Richard Allen was arrested, there's been a few court hearings and nothing really happened in the case. It was quietly heading towards trial until September, when Richard Allen's defence team, led by Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rosie, released the memorandum. And that set the cat amongst the pigeons, ultimately resulted in leaking of crime scene photos of Abby and Libby, which absolutely should not be out there. I haven't seen them, I haven't been sent them, but apparently by now lots of people have. So there's that. And then last week, just a week ago today, there was the hearing that wasn't, and Judge Francis Gull said, looking very exasperated, I might say, said that his defence are withdrawn. So we've got another week to wait, nearly a week to wait, until the next hearing on the 31st of October. And we may well find out then who Richard Allen's new attorneys are. But in this video, we're going to talk about two things, two little rabbit holes that I've been down. One's, I've got to the bottom of it. The second one is just a puzzle. So, let's get into it. We'll do the easy one first. Earlier this morning, I had this comment. Isn't it a coincidence that Mitch Westerman, Richard Allen, Patrick Westfall, Brad Holder were once in the National Guard? I think implying that they all knew each other. They were all tight because they were ex-armed forces buddies. Well, great minds think alike, because I thought the same thing. After listening to the Murder Sheet podcast, the interview that they had with Mitch Westerman in March 2023. And if you don't know who Mitch Westerman is, he's the guy that did the leaking. He's the guy that went into Andrew Baldwin's office and took photos of crime scene photos and then distributed them to R, who then started distributing to people before taking his own life. So it's R that took his own life, not Mitch, as some people have been saying. The commenter here had put his real name, his full name, and I think his full name's out there. I know his full name, but I've scribbled it out because I don't know that it's common knowledge. And as he's taken his own life, and as his family are probably gutted by everything that's happened, then if everybody starts talking in his real name, I guess I'll follow. But at the moment, I'm just scribbling it out and putting R. If you don't know the backstory to all of this, go to yesterday's video, because I talked about the Murder Sheet episode and who Mitch Westerman is, and it turns out that he was in the armed forces. And so was R. Now, because I know R's real name, found his obituary, and it turns out that R was in the Air Force. Mitch Westerman, I also believe, was in the Air Force. Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder served together. And he told us this in the interview with Sleuth Intuition. So I'm going to play that clip for you now. The question from the audience was that does Brad, or does he, know Richard Allen? No, he doesn't, know Richard Allen, he said he'll try and find out where Richard Allen served, because we know Richard Allen was in the National Guard, but we don't know what division, battalion, whatever it's called. But we do know about Brad and Patrick.
I have personally gotten a hold of a few people, and I am going to see if I still don't have enough love from a couple guys to get some DD-214s for both of them two gentlemen and see if their times overlap at the same armories or any kind of things like that. I don't personally yet know if those two were in the same. I mean, Brad was 2nd Battalion, 151st Infantry out of the Bravo Company in Logansport. I do believe is the armory he was attached with. I don't know about our Richard Allen's unit, if he was even infantry, because if he wasn't 11 Bravo, odds of those two having much interaction are probably slim to none.
So that's very specific, isn't it? And that's an infantry battalion, so not Air Force. So it's highly, highly, highly unlikely that Mitch Westerman and R would have known Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder from their armed forces days. Now, they could have met them at, I don't know, reunions. I don't know. They could know each other from other places, I guess, because the implication is, the question I asked yesterday was, why did Mitch Westerman do this? Did he do it for money? Andrew Baldwin's his friend. Again, go and listen to yesterday's video for the backstory to all of this. Why would he have done that to his friend? It does not benefit the defence to have those crime scene photos out there. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Even if Mitch Westerman thought he was doing a good thing by countering court TV, according to the people who have seen the crime scene photos, the sticks are placed in a different way. So maybe he thought he was doing a good thing, but he'd worked in the law office with Andrew Baldwin for 7 years. Andrew Baldwin would have known that would not have benefited him or the case to have those out there. So I say again, did he do it for money? Or, as some people are thinking, is Mitch an Odinist and wanted to stop the trial? Was he put up to it by podcasters who make money off this case and who would lose revenue because they don't cover really any other cases in any significant way? Did they want to stop this trial? All of that is on the table at the moment. All of it. What I can say at this moment in time is that R was Air Force, Patrick and Brad were infantry, Mitch, I think, was Air Force, and I don't know about Richard Allen. I don't know what battalion, division, etc. he served in. So if anybody knows and can send me the source, let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's move on to the second thing that we're going to talk about today. And this is not really a rabbit hole, it's more of a discrepancy. And we've already got one discrepancy in what the prosecution have said and what the defence have said in relation to this bullet, or more accurately, an unspent round. Right, so it cycled through the gun and then it had been ejected without being fired. So let's go to the PCA and see what they say about the bullet, the unspent round. People, when I say bullet, people always correct me. Unspent round. Okay, so on October 13th, 2022, investigators executed a search warrant of Richard Allen's residence at 1967 North Whiteman Drive, Delphi, Carroll County, Indiana. Among other things, officers located jackets, boots, knives, and firearms, including a Sig Sauer Model P226 40 caliber pistol with serial number U625627. Between October 13th and October 19th, 2022, the Indiana State Police Laboratory performed an analysis on Allen's Sig Sauer Model P226. The laboratory performed a physical examination and classification of the firearm, function test, barrel and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition, component characterization, microscopic comparison, and nibbing. Don't know what that is. The laboratory determined the unspent round located approximately 2 feet away from Libby's body. And we know that Abby and Libby were close by each other. Like the feet were closer than the heads, but they were close by each other. So the unspent round located within 2 feet of Libby's body had been cycled through Richard M. Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. The laboratory remarked, an identification opinion is reached. Now this is all opinion, it's all subjective, right? When the evidence exhibits an agreement of class characteristic and a sufficient agreement of individual marks. Sufficient agreement is related to the significant duplication of random striated depressed marks in evidence by the correspondence of a pattern or combination of patterns of surface contours. The interpretation of identification is subjective in nature and based on relevant scientific research and the reporting examiner's training and experience. So it goes on to say that Richard Allen bought it in 2001. He doesn't let anyone else borrow his firearms, so therefore it must have been him that ejected this round at the crime scene. It's interesting that it was close to Libby's body, given that all the talk about the bodies being moved. So they can't have been moved very far. Why would you eject an unspent round after they were dead? Or maybe it was just to clear it from the chamber after they were dead and then couldn't find it. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Anyway, the defence say something very interesting regarding this unspent round. Also, the defence has provided 3 photos of a bullet purportedly found in the ground between Abby and Libby. So they say it was in the ground. So, on the ground, in the ground, buried in the ground. In the ground. So was it buried deeply? Was it just there? Now there is a photo circulating, and I just took a screenshot of this from, I think this was from Criminality's live stream. But I've watched a few over the last day or so I'm getting all confused about where I've seen what. But this is the photo that's circulating of the supposed bullet. So this is the supposed bullet, or unspent round. I don't know. It's an unclear photo. And if you look at that, if you cover that bit with a leaf, that there would look exactly the same as that there. So I can't tell you whether that's a bullet or whether people are just seeing a stick that's partially covered with leaves. Anyway, I thought I'd show it because I know that at least one person is going to say, Michelle, there's a picture of the bullet. It should be noted that of the date of this memo, the defence has no photographs of the bullet allegedly found between the girls after it was removed from the ground. No photo or video, for example, shows the bullet as it was being pulled out of the ground. No photo or video of the bullet immediately after it was pulled from the ground. No video or photo of all sides of the bullet immediately after it was pulled from the ground. No photographs of the bullet next to a measuring device to show its length. No photos that show what the bullet looked like once it was pulled out of the ground. No photo that could show what the bullet looked like once it was pulled out of the ground could provide proof that it was the same bullet that ended up in the evidence locker room. Shockingly, in his deposition, Sheriff Liggett admitted he had also not seen any photos of the purported bullet taken once the bullet was pulled from the ground. Now, there is a footnote saying that they did receive a photo of the bullet at the forensic lab, but nothing else. And the sheriff admits he also hasn't seen such photos. So what we have there, as I've talked about many times, is a loss of chain of custody. But there's more, guys. All right. I went back to the Ron Logan search warrant. Do you remember this? This was leaked, another thing that was leaked by the murder sheet. If you go to the bottom, this was executed in March 2017. 17th of March 2017. To search Ron Logan's properties for evidence of the murders. So this is Nicole Robertson, a special agent with the FBI. This gives us information about the crime scene. Actually, when this was leaked by the murder sheet, it was the first time we'd heard anything about the crime scene at all. So we're going to read that bit. We're not going to read the stuff about Ron Logan. There's just some bits here that are very important to the current situation. Remember the unspent round. Okay, because this is crucial. The unspent round is crucial to the prosecution's tying Richard Allen to the scene of the crime. Remember that while I read. February 13th, 2017, at approximately 1 p.m, juvenile victims, hereafter referred to as LG and AW, I'll just give their names, were taken to the Mourne and High Bridge Trail located in Delphi, Indiana. Libby and Abby were walking the trail in the area of County Road 300 North and 575 West, latitude and longitude, 2:13, which is the time of last contact with Libby and Abby via cellular device. So that 2:13 was the Bridge Guy video. And there'd been a photo 6 minutes earlier of Abby walking along the bridge. And no, you cannot see a person in the background. You know this bushy-haired young man that Betsy Blair saw on platform 1 on the bridge at 2 p.m? Well, he wasn't there. The victims were to be picked up at 3. The victims never met. Approximately 5:30 was the last successful ping of the cellular phone by AT&T. So the victims were located deceased on February 14th at approximately 12:17 p.m. So a suspect has been developed of a white male wearing the blue jacket based on the 43-second video taken on Libby's phone. Right, near the end of the video, the suspect speaks to the victim saying down the hill. Sounds as though he's directing the victims to leave the trail. When they were found dead, they had wounds caused by, and we know that's now a sharp weapon or an edged weapon. We know it was a knife. We know they had their throats cut. On the property owned by Ronald Logan, a large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene. So where's all this blood? Has it soaked into the ground? I mean, it could be possible that there was blood all around and it was just soaked into the ground. We don't know. Because of the nature of the victim's wounds, it's nearly certain that the perp of the crime would have gotten blood on his clothing. Okay, well, Sarah Carbo saw Richard Allen bloody and muddy, wearing a blue coat, walking west as she was coming east along County Road North at 3:57. She saw this bloody and muddy man, but the defence say he wasn't wearing a blue coat, he was wearing a tan coat, and he was muddy but not bloody. So anyway, it goes on to talk about Logan. So we're not interested in Logan. It was also discovered that some article of clothing, one of the victims, was missing from the crime scene while the rest of the clothes were recovered. It appears the girls' bodies were moved and staged, so we know now what that means. Based on my training and experience, it's common for the perpetrator of this type of crime to take a souvenir or in some fashion memorialise the crime scene. All right. So no visible signs of struggle or a fight. Processing the crime scene, unknown fibres and unidentified hairs. So we don't hear about that in the PCA. So had they already realised that those hairs were from Abby and Libby's own homes? I don't know, but it wasn't mentioned in the PCA of Richard Allen. Okay, Logan owns numerous weapons, including handguns and knives. that were observed by law enforcement officers during the execution of a search warrant that took place at his home on March the 6th, 2017. Logan's home was searched as a result of a probation violation. The search was limited to the discovery of firearms and included only his main residence. So they wanted a search warrant for everything from his property. So it goes on to talk about how Ron Logan lied to get his cousin to give him an alibi. Honestly, I don't think Logan had anything to do with it, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so this talks a lot about the trash and the aquarium and stuff like that. Cell tower that he pinged in the area at the time of the murders. Well, he would do if he was at home. Okay, it talks about the girls being found. Okay, so information to be searched and things to be seized. Based on the aforementioned facts, I believe there is probable cause to believe that Ronald Logan has committed the crime of murder, and evidence that could be found on Ron Logan's property. Well, obviously they didn't find that evidence. So they want a search warrant for his entire property. Okay, they want everything. Any and all evidence pertaining to a murder, including clothing, forensic evidence, blood, seen and unseen hair, bodily fluids, seen and unseen fibres, weapons, electronic devices, etc., etc. Right, what's missing? Answers in the comments. What's missing? Because they've described the crime scene. They've said that they want a search warrant for his entire property, including cutting instruments, all weapons, cutting instruments, guns. They know he owns a lot of firearms. What's missing? Any mention of an unspent round being found at the crime scene. If they wanted a search warrant for his entire property because they had reason to believe he had weapons that were used in that crime, why would they not have mentioned that unspent round? Boom. Alright guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye guys.